And welcome everyone to the online open evening session for the Diploma in Silver Jewellery at Brighton. I'm very excited. I'm going to be sharing about the programme tonight, a bit about the curriculum, about the tutors, about the space, and also answering any questions. And I have some slides with some pretty pictures on, so I will get those up now. If you are joining live, do feel free to use the chat. Come and say hi. Let us know where you are tuning in from. And yeah, it's just lovely to have you here. I'm excited to talk about jewelry for a bit because that's what I love to do. And hopefully you'll also enjoy it too. So welcome. So this session is all about the Diploma in Silver Jewellery at Brighton, and it's about the 1-year version. We also have a summer intensive, but this one is about the 1 year, which starts in September, and enrollment is open for it now. And we're really excited to be offering this course in person again. We used to run it in person at the London Jewellery School before COVID, and we had many students go through the program there. It was really successful. We just had a great community working on building their skills. And since then, we've taken the program online, and now we're bringing it to Brighton. So it's been a fun journey. So what is the Diploma in Silver Jewellery? It's a 1-year complete training for jewellers. So we start at the very beginning, assuming that you know nothing, although many people that come on the course have done jewelry making before, but we kind of just start right from scratch. And the idea is that within a year, you will train as a professional jeweler. And what that means to me is that you can make collections, you can make pieces in silver, you can make pieces in gold, you can do stone setting, you can do wax carving, you can make engagement style rings, you can make wedding rings. So you have a lot of versatility, and you can use that either because for fun, because you enjoy it and you want to learn something new, to start your own business or to build on a business that you have, or to go and work in the jewelry trade for another jeweler or jewelry company. So it's very versatile in what students go on to do afterwards. So hello and welcome for anyone who hasn't met me before. I'm Jess. I'm the founder of Jewellers Academy. I started the London Jewellery School 19 years ago when I was 19, and that was back in Hatton Garden in London. And there we trained over 40,000 people in jewellery making skills over 13 years. So we've got lots of experience teaching jewellery making. Absolutely love it. It's not just me that teaches everything. There's a whole team of us, and I'll introduce you to some of those in the session tonight. And yeah, we have the online community, we have the physical premises in Brighton, and everything we do is just about supporting people to learn jewelry making, to develop their jewelry businesses, and to move one step forwards in whatever it is that they want to learn. We very much believe that everyone can make jewelry, and wherever you're starting at, we're excited to kind of be part of that journey, and people from all walks of life are welcome. We have a very diverse community, so just lovely to have you here. If you are joining me live and you want to come share, I would love to know if you guys have made any jewelry before. I feel like I recognize some faces and some names, so I feel like you must have made some jewelry before, some of you guys. But yeah, just curious to know. I think my jewelry making journey started with a beginner's beading class. That was the first class I ever did. I decided I was going to be a jeweler before I took a jewelry class. I was just like, this is what I want to do. And absolutely just fell in love with, just working with the wire and the pliers and the fact that I could make something. And I was like, oh my goodness, I need to learn more. And then I went on to do sort of silversmithing courses, learning how to make silver rings, things like that. Then I went into silver metal clay, which is another whole area. And now I kind of do mostly sort of stone setting, wax, those kind of things. But I just love all the things, which is why I have to have all these training courses, because I want to keep learning new things. So yeah, whether you've made jewelry or not before, you're all very welcome. What we'll be covering in this session is a bit about what the diploma is, the level of support available, the projects, a little bit about the tuition, and also if anyone has any questions at any time, just ask away, and I'll be here to help. So what is the diploma? It is a 1-year program. We start in September. It finishes in the following summer. It follows 3 terms, which roughly follow the school a year here in the UK. So it's sort of mid-September through to mid-December. We have a break over the Christmas period, come back in January, through to Easter, have a break over Easter, and then there's the final summer term. And the course runs 1 day a week, and we have 2 intakes this year. One is on a Wednesday and one is on a Saturday. So you will either come every Wednesday if you enroll on the Wednesday course, or you'll come every Saturday if you enroll on the Saturday course. So there's a midweek option and a weekend option. We have a maximum of 8 students per class. We like to keep the classes small because that way you get lots of one-on-one attention from the tutor. And we have people enrolled on these courses already, so there's only very limited spaces. So if you are interested, we definitely encourage you to sign up as soon as possible, because once the places are gone, then they're gone. There's only 8 benches in the classroom. So yeah, it's a complete training in silver and gold jewelry. Even though it's called the Diploma in Silver, there's a fair amount of gold that we also cover in the course as well, because it's great fun to work with gold. And I think it's nice, especially if you're learning in person. If you're learning gold, it can be a bit nerve-wracking because of the cost of the material. It's quite nice to have someone there who's like, I will help you, especially the first time that you're doing these things. And like I mentioned before, people come to the diploma for all different reasons. Many people want to start their own business. Some people want to go on and work somewhere else. And some people just, just have some time and they want to learn something and they want to expand their knowledge and enjoy themselves. So all of those are very welcome. Yes, this program has been running for more than 10 years, and we've had over 1,500 students complete it from all over the world. So we like to think that we're very good at supporting people through it. And I think what makes it such a great program is this idea of incremental learning. And I was actually speaking with one of the tutors today about this, is that each week you will build on your skills. So you'll be able to do something that will challenge you, but also is achievable. And then the next week, it's just pushing it one step further. So we're not taking too many steps forward in one go, but by the end of the year, you will be amazed what you can do from where you started. And that's what I love so much about it, is seeing the transformation that people go through. And you kind of don't realize you're going through the transformation as you do it, because you're like, okay, this is just a little bit more than last week and a little bit more and a little bit more, until it's been a year and you're like, oh my goodness, I can make all of these pieces that I had no idea how to do at the beginning. In terms of the materials, they're all included in the diploma at Brighton. So that will be all your silver, all of your gold. The only thing that isn't included are your materials for your final project, because you will choose what you want to make. There will be some materials if you don't want to spend anything on that. There'll be some basic materials. But if, for example, you want to make a special piece in gold, or maybe you want to make something in silver, but choose your own gemstones or whatever, we like to give you guys the freedom to choose that. But that is not until term 3, right at the end, and you'll have time to kind of discuss with us what you're going to make before then. It's about £1,200 worth of silver and gold that's included in the course. So that is what you'll take home with you, all of the pieces that you've made, and you will have a full portfolio. I think one of the nice things about this program is at the end, you have that portfolio of work. So if you're planning on selling your jewelry, you can show that to clients or share it on social media to build kind of interest. And if you're planning on working somewhere else, they will always ask to see your work, and they'll usually ask for a bench test, which is seeing your skills. So those are things that we will be able to help you with as well. In terms of the tools, because you're with us in Brighton, all of the use of the tools is included. We have an incredibly equipped studio with lots of juicy tools in for you to try. And I think the nice thing about trying the tools there is you can figure out which ones you want to buy for yourself. So you might not buy all the tools that we have, but you can get to know them and figure out, okay, if you're building a workshop at home or a little bench or a little space at home, what would you like to add? You'll also get a free starter kit included in the course, which is worth around £300, which is all your basic tools to get going with. With jewelry making, there is no end to the number of tools you can buy. If you're new, then I'm just going to let you know that now. But you can also do a lot with very little. So we're going to kind of give you a kit to get started. So if you want to practice at home, you can. But we also, the way we run the diploma is we don't expect you to do any work outside of it. You can do everything in the time that you have in the workshop. Some people may have workshops at home and able to do extra, which is entirely up to them. But we assume that you've just got this 1 day a week that you're coming to make, and that's enough. And we work around that. So in terms of how you'll learn, there'll be lessons every week. You'll also have a full set of class notes, so you'll be able to take those away with you. They're very thorough. They have all the information in, so you don't need to take notes unless you want to, although you're always welcome to as well. And you'll also have a mentor. So as well as your tutor every week, and you'll have different tutors each week. So there'll be some that you'll have a bunch of times, but you'll have different specialists. So for example, if you're doing a wax course, you'll have a wax tutor. If you're doing a stone setting course, you'll have a stone setting tutor. If you're doing sort of general jewelry making, you'll have a tutor who's a specialist in that. And the great thing there is you learn from this whole range of different tutors, and everyone does things a little bit differently. So we like to expose you to different styles, different ideas, and that way you'll learn as much as possible. But as well as your tutors, you'll also be assigned a mentor at the beginning of the course. This is your main kind of contact if you need anything throughout the program, and your mentor will meet with you each term and will also be marking your work. So because it is a diploma, we do mark your work against a set of criteria. This is not to scare anyone or intimidate anyone, but it is just a way of tracking your progress and giving you some feedback. So as you progress, there's things that we can help you with and show you what it is you need to do to improve. So that will happen at the end of each term. There'll be a marking day. You'll sit down for an hour with your mentor. We'll look through the work you've done that term. They will mark it and give you some feedback about what you could do to improve next time, but also give you some positive encouragement, which I think is the thing that people need the most, to be honest, because most jewelers are perfectionists, and I speak as one myself. So we know already all the things we're doing wrong, but sometimes we don't know what we're doing right. So it can be quite nice to have a professional jeweler sit down and say, yes, that is a good enough finish. Yes, you have done that solder join really well. However, this is how I would do it next time if you wanted to improve. So that's a really lovely part of the diploma, is that kind of feedback and that relationship with your mentor. So they'll be there to just support you and offer advice as you're going through your training. They all run their own jewelry businesses, so they've got experience that they can share beyond just what's in the program as well. And we find that people develop lovely relationships with the group. So you'll be with the same students every week, so you'll get to know each other, but also with their tutors and their mentors. So the kind of the contact side of it, the being around people and being in community, is something that students often give feedback that is one of their favorite things about the program. In terms of your weekly lessons, they run from 10 till 5 p.m. 1 day a week. So that's either on the Wednesday or the Saturday, depending on which one you go for. Everything is provided, so you don't need to bring anything. Like I mentioned, the tutors are all kind of experts in the areas that they're teaching. We're incredibly lucky and blessed that we're able to have such wonderful people, very friendly, very encouraging, very supportive. And like I mentioned before, there's a maximum of 8 students in a class. Okay, so I'm going to share a little bit about the mentors. Hopefully you guys are with me so far. Like I said, any questions, any point. There's no such thing as a silly question. That applies to if you're in the diploma as well. So feel free to ask away. So we have 2 mentors this year. This is on top of all the tutors that you'll learn from. And they are wonderful. So the first one is Eleanor. So this is Eleanor Sixteen's daughter. Eleanor has been a bench jeweler up in London for a jeweler called The Great Frog. And she also has her own jewelry brand. Eleanor does all types of jewelry making, but she specializes in things like sand casting, wax carving, silver jewelry making, a little bit of stone setting as well. She's really encouraging, really supportive of our students, and yeah, just has a very relaxed style in the workshop, which is really nice when you're learning new things, to kind of have someone there to guide you who's knows what they're doing, very professional, but also very relaxed and chilled out. And then we have the wonderful, missed off a slide. Oh, maybe it's coming. Here it is. Maros. Mixed up the order there. So the wonderful Maros. Maros is a very experienced jewelry designer. You can see some of her incredible pieces here. These are all kind of pierced out in silver with enameling, and some stone setting as well. Maroz trained at a jewelry school and she worked in the Birmingham Jewelry Quarter. She has done pretty much everything from stone setting to polishing and finishing. She's also one of the best enamelers I've ever come across. I mean, we don't do enameling in this course, but we do it as individual classes, and that's a real specialism of hers. But yeah, lots of stone setting. An all-round kind of jeweler who can cover all the different areas. And again, very supportive, very detailed, very encouraging, and just has tons of knowledge to be able to share with us. Some of the key benefits of the program that we find students enjoy is the structure. So having a day a week to come somewhere and leave life behind and just make. If you're anything like me, I always want to make jewelry, and but when I'm at home, it's often like there's just a million other things that need to be done. Whereas if I go somewhere, then I'm making jewelry because I've got that dedicated time. There's also the accountability that you're part of a group. And so we're all in it together and we've got deadlines and we're going to have marking, which can be really helpful, especially for certain personality types, to be able to know that, you know, we've only got this amount of hours to get it done in. It also helps a bit with the perfectionism as well, I think, because if you've got 7 hours in a day and you've got to do a claw setting, we just have to make it work with the time. And if it doesn't go to plan, it's okay. We're going to learn from it. So it's nice to have that kind of structure and accountability built in. The marking is a great element of the course because you get that kind of feedback loop to help you grow, and you can kind of understand where you're at in relation to the goals that you're trying to achieve with your jewelry making. Like I said, we're really committed to having small class sizes because there's nothing worse than just waiting around to get access to the tutor. So that's something that isn't done in many other places, but I think is so important for high quality learning. The diploma is a great thing to achieve. So it's incredible at the end of the year when people have worked so hard and they get their diploma, and it's something, you know, you can put up on your wall, frame it. We give you a badge as well. And it's just, you know, it's just an incredible feeling to know that you've put aside that time, you've invested in yourself, you've invested time, money, usually blood, sweat, and tears into your making. So we love kind of being part of that journey with you. And the diploma has a strong making focus. So there is not a lot, it's almost zero written work. There won't be essays, there won't be kind of conceptual things. It's very much about getting you at the bench and getting you making, because that's how you improve as a jeweler. All right, I'm going to quickly run through the curriculum next, which is my favorite part because we get to look at all the projects and all the things that we're going to be making. So term one, we're focusing on various different workbench skills. So we start at the beginning with sawing, filing, and drilling. So these are some essential skills as a jeweler that you'll need to know. So how to saw well, how to file well, and how to create holes in pieces is a really good start. So we're going to be doing piercing, cutting out different shapes, different templates. We will be challenging you depending on what level you're at. So if you're brand new, you'll get started with, you know, just learning how to put the saw blade in the saw and how to get going. And if you've done some jewelry making before, then you'll be able to do some more complex shapes as well. So wherever you're at, we'll be able to just push you a little bit further forward. Then we move on to the silver jewelry workshop. So here we'll be making a soldered ring and a pendant. So this is our first go at soldering, our first go at kind of really working in silver with the soldering. We'll be working with different textures, looking at getting different finishes, but really just still kind of gently introducing you to the workshop and getting you confident in the space, and also kind of getting you used to all the tools that we're using as well. Week 3 is the soldering masterclass. So learning how to solder is another key fundamental skill for any jeweler. So if you can saw well, and if you can file well, and you can solder well, Everything else is a breeze. So they're the core fundamentals that we're really trying to get on top of in the first term. So the soldering masterclass isn't really about making finished pieces, although you can make some finished pieces, but it's about exploring soldering. So it's a whole day just on soldering. So you'll learn to solder jump rings, you'll solder earring posts on the back of pieces, you'll solder D rings, which is kind of like for a pendant. You'll do some sweat soldering, which is soldering two flat pieces together. And we'll explore how to make a 3D form with multiple solder joins and how to manage that. So it's really just a whole day exploring soldering and getting you confidence so that when you come back to make pieces, soldering's not really an issue, because it brings so much design freedom if you feel like you can just make anything and you don't have to worry about, oh, will I manage all the solder joins and things like that. So that's a fundamental we want to get on top of early on. Week 4, I apologize for in advance. It is a little bit of a boot camp this week, but I promise it's worth it in the long run. So this is the jigsaw project, or we often call it the kite project, which is testing those 3 fundamental skills of sawing, filing, and soldering. So you take 2 pieces of metal, usually copper and brass, you cut out, this is the jigsaw one, which is the harder one. You'll probably do the kite, which is just straight lines. But the key is it has to be sawing in a straight line. We have to file it down to get it to fit perfectly. And then we have to solder all the way along the seams. And if you can do that, everything else in the course will be a breeze. And if you can't do it, it's also okay, because you gave it a go and you will have improved. So this is kind of a way to just get you doing something hard so that when we come to do the other things, they feel easier. Then it's a nice kind of transition into week 5, which is the intermediate silver jewelry, when we're looking at doming. So you'll make a spinner ring, and if there's time, we'll also have a go at making a lentil necklace, which is like a lentil bead. So we're working with the curvature of the pieces and just creating some nice pieces in jewelry. Week 6 is the polishing and finishing week. So the main difference between, I'd say, an amateur piece of jewelry and a professional piece of jewelry is the polish and the finish. So again, this is something that we really want to help you to understand: how to get a high shine, like a mirror finish, how to get a satin finish on a piece, how you can get a frosted finish. You can also do things like patiners, which make kind of it dark and give kind of different effects. So you will be exploring all the different ways to work with the different machinery, but also just hand polishing, so that you have all that knowledge in how to polish and finish your jewelry as we go forwards. Then we move on to some stone setting. This is our first proper stone setting of the course. So week 7 is cabochon setting. Cabochons, or stones that have a flat back and a curved top. So they're a really good stone to start with because they're a little bit more of a simple shape. So you'll learn how to create a cabochon setting. After that, you'll move on to doing a tube setting and a flush setting. So on the left-hand side here are the flush settings. Flush settings are settings that are where the stone is flush with the metal. So it just looks like it's just neatly embedded in there. It's such a beautiful setting to learn and gives a really nice little pop to your jewelry. So if you just have made a ring or a pendant or some earrings and you just want a little sparkle, they're a really nice one to just pop in. And that's working with faceted stones, which are stones with a pointed bottom rather than the cabochons, which are flat. And that means they reflect the light, which makes them super sparkly. So I like all the sparkles, so this always, excites me. And then we have tube setting, which is on the right, where you'll make a piece, either a ring or a pendant like this, and you'll learn how to set a faceted stone into a tube. So you've got a tube, and then you're going to be learning to seat the stone and rub it over. So those two together are really, with the cabochon as well, a really nice introduction to stone setting. Then we move on to week 9. Week 9 is the cold connections week, where you'll be learning about hinges and rivets. So you'll have a go at making a hinged piece, which you can see on the left. There's like a little book hinge. So cold connections is how to create a connection without heat. So we will use soldering to attach the tube, but ultimately the final connection of a hinge is done without heat because there's movement. And then also the rivet. So a rivet is using a little bit of tube or a little bit of wire to create a connection which then moves. So if you were going to do a swing pendant, like the little heart on the right, then there's so much you can do with rivets. They're a little bit addictive once you get into them. So that's week 9. And then we finish up the term with wax carving. Wax carving, for anyone who's never heard of it before, is an incredible technique for making jewelry. It's you make the piece in wax and then it gets cast into whatever metal you choose. So often silver, but it could be brass or bronze or gold. But the great thing is you can carve in the wax because it's soft. You can make rings, pendants, whatever you like. And then a mold is made, and or perhaps you don't always have to make the mold. And the wax is sucked out of the piece and the molten silver or whatever metal you choose is poured in, and it makes an exact replica of the wax. So the great thing about learning wax carving, it's brilliant if you want to create collections, because you can make one of a piece and get maybe 10 of them cast, or 20, or however many you want. So it can be great for running a jewelry business, but also it's just great fun. So in this wax course, you'll be introduced to the wax. You'll make a ring and a pendant or a charm. So you'll learn how to work with some of the carving tools, sawing, filing, and just creating your own designs. Then at the end of each term, we have a workshop week. So this is a week to just kind of catch up on anything that didn't go to plan, polish and finish any bits and pieces off, do what you can. One of the tutors or mentors will be in the workshop with you, helping you through the week as well. But it's kind of just getting everything ready. And then the final week of the term will be marking day. You'll be assigned a slot on your marking day of an hour. So you'll come in just for that hour. You'll each have an hour throughout the day with your mentor, and they will run through your pieces, and they'll give you some feedback and some encouragement and send you off on your way ready for the next term. So that's term 1. Hopefully you're still with me. Term 2, we start with a bang, which is wedding ring making for clients. So it was really important when we were creating this course to think about how can you make money after you finished the course. And one of the main ways that jewelers make money, not the only way, but is making and repairing wedding rings. So learning how to make a wedding ring is a really important skill for a jeweler to kind of master. So you'll learn how to create a ring, a D-shaped ring in gold. And if there's time, we'll also create a wishbone ring, which is kind of goes underneath an engagement ring, in silver. And we'll talk a bit about sizing rings, about how to deal with clients if they are wanting to have a wedding ring made. So the kind of conversations you might have. We could talk a bit about pricing, and how you would price up a piece like this. But really, it's about getting you working with the gold, and kind of exploring how you could embed this into a business, or just knowledge for if you're working somewhere else as well. Or perhaps you just want to make a wedding ring for someone because they've asked you to and they're in the family. So it's just a great skill for a jeweler to be able to master. Then week 2 is the sea glass jewelry week. So we have an incredible sea glass course taught by the wonderful Kelly Twig. And Kelly will teach you how to do a bezel setting in sea glass. So you'll have done a bezel setting before, but it would have been a simple round, whereas sea glass is a natural shape and form. So there's some unique challenges there. She'll also demonstrate how you could do a claw setting, and show you some other different bits and pieces in case you want to explore sea glass jewelry further. Week 3 is the irregular cabochon settings week, so it kind of follows on a similar theme from the sea glass jewelry. So we've done a round cabochon, we've done a sea glass pendant or ring, and now it's looking at shaped stones. So particularly ones that have corners, like a pear shape or a square. It's just how to deal with those corners and how to design pieces and create those settings so that you feel really confident doing these types of stone settings in your designs. Week 4, we move back to wax again, and you'll be doing some stone setting in wax. So you'll learn how to do a cabochon setting in wax, as well as a faceted stone setting in wax. And you can kind of explore different designs here, and make a ring and a piece that you can get cast should you wish to. Week 5 is, there's a lot of stone setting, as you can tell. Week 5 is the collet setting. I absolutely love collet settings. They're for setting fancy faceted stones. So again, with a pointed back. But they're often used in rings. They could be used in stud earrings as well. I mean, they could be used in anything, but they tend to be a little bit bigger than the tube setting and the flush settings, which tend to lend themselves towards smaller sparkly stones. So these are for the bigger sparkly stones. And it just has this really beautiful thick wall around the edge that we're going to rub over. So you'll learn how to create the setting. You'll learn how to solder it onto a ring. And you'll learn how to set the stone professionally and get a nice finish on it. So it's a very satisfying day to be able to create a collet setting. Then week 6 is all about launching and growing a jewelry business. So in this day, we will run through all of the basics of setting up and running a jewelry business, from things like branding and logos through to marketing, using social media, email marketing, you know, how you can promote yourself and attract customers. We'll also be covering things like packaging, insurance, hallmarking, which is something really important in the jewelry industry. And then pricing, looking at some of your finances, but also setting some goals and some visions so that if you have a business or you're looking to grow one, we can help encourage you and give you some skills to get going with that, because most jewelers also want to make a living from what they're doing. So anything we can do to encourage that entrepreneurial spirit will be covered in that day as well. And it gives your hands a little bit of a break from the stone setting before we come back ready to do some more. Week 6 and 7 is making a trinket box. So this is lovely because it's something a little bit different. And we start working with the bigger torches here because we're working with a little bit more volume. A lot of the pieces we made so far are quite small. So we're working with more volume. It's a little bit more silversmithing based. You're learning how to make a curved box which fits into itself. They're so satisfying to make, but really it helps you learn more about the structure of pieces. We're developing our soldering skills, our polishing and finishing skills. You can add your own sort of designs to them as well if there's time, and just a lovely way to kind of develop the more structural elements of jewelry making in your skill set too. Week 9 is working with gold. This is often people's favorite week, I feel like, in the whole year, because it's a little bit of fun and what you make is really gorgeous. So you'll make a set of stacking rings, just like this one here. So you'll do 2 gold rings and 2 silver rings, but also there'll be bits of gold in each piece. And the thought process behind this course is learning how to do a little bit of stone setting using gold, because it's similar to in silver, but there are some differences, especially working with 9-carat gold, which is what you'll probably be working with to begin with. But also it's showing you how you can introduce bits of gold into your silver work without spending too much money. So to make a solid gold piece is quite expensive, but to add a little bit of tube or a little bit of casting grain is a really affordable way to add pops of gold into your work without it kind of overtaking in terms of, you know, expense and cost. So a lovely little stack that you'll be able to make that week. Week 10 is the jewelry design and drawing class. So again, something a little bit different. It's really important as a designer that you have some tools in your toolkit for how to design your work and how to draw. So there'll be a little bit of jewelry design, which is kind of mood boarding, looking at ideas, looking at inspiration, and looking at how you might convert that into a collection or a piece or an idea for making jewelry, but also a little bit of technical drawing. So learning how to measure up pieces. This is particularly important if you're doing things like engagement rings, and perhaps someone wants you to order stones and you want to check the right sizes and it needs to fit around their ring size. So starting to do that process of looking at design and how we can do some work before we make the piece to make our lives a little bit easier in the long run. Then we end each term with a workshop week and a marking day before we go on to the third and final term. So we start off with chain making. Chain making is incredibly satisfying. So you will learn a bunch of different types of handmade chain. We'll show you how to do different lengths, different shapes, different sizes, and then you will make a bracelet to any style that you choose. So again, great for improving our soldering skills, but also as you develop as a jeweler, it's really nice to be able to make your own chain. Some pieces you might want to put a special chain on. Of course, if you're making a pendant and you're just attaching it to a bought chain, that's fine. But sometimes it's really nice to be able to create the whole piece yourself. So a very satisfying week is that one. Then we move on to some more intricate stone setting. So you'll be learning a claw setting. So you'll be learning this in a ring, and you'll start with tube and we'll be adding wire to it. So this is probably the easiest way to make a claw setting, which we're going to start with, and then we're going to go up from there. But it's really simple, really effective. And you know, everything's easy when you know how, isn't it? But the first time it's not easy at all. It feels very fiddly. So we're going to be working with wire. There's going to be multiple solder joins, and just exploring how to create a beautiful claw setting on a piece. Then weeks 3 to 4, we'll be looking at stone setting using cast setting. So as you develop as a jeweler and people ask you to make pieces, you'll start to have choices about how you're going to make it. So in the week before, we looked at making the claw setting. So this, you will make the whole setting from scratch. But another option, and especially if they're on a budget or perhaps they want lots of settings, is that you can actually buy the setting and then solder it into the piece and set the stone. So this is what these weeks will be about, working with those cast settings, because they have some unique challenges to them. They're great if the stones that you're working with are calibrated. So a calibrated stone is a stone that is exactly the right size. So I can buy the setting, say for 4 millimeters, and I can buy a stone for 4 millimeters and it fits perfectly. Whereas if I'm working with some natural stones, they'll come in all shapes and sizes, in which case we need the skills from the week before where we can measure and make it by hand. So we're starting to get a bit more sophisticated with our making and with our choices and how we're going to work with people as well as they order things from us. Then we'll move on to granulation in silver. So granulation is a lot of fun and another very addictive technique where you're making lots of tiny little balls in silver or in gold, and you'll be soldering them onto a piece. So this is a ring here with a little stone setting in the middle. So you might choose to make a ring or a pendant, but you'll be exploring the granulation soldering technique that week and making a piece using that. And it's great for adding decoration around stones, or just adding texture to pieces. So really versatile. Week 6 is about recycling your silver jewelry, which is really important because as you're working with silver, you're going to have lots of scraps, and you're going to have, and those scraps are going to be worth a lot of money because silver is expensive. So learning how to smelt it down, roll it back out again, and create pieces of silver sheet that you can work from is a really important skill for a jeweler. So this week will all be about exploring recycling your silver jewelry and being able to make pieces from it again. Then our final project is making a classic solitaire ring. So you may have remembered before we did a claw setting, but it was quite a simple claw setting with a tube. So this one is a step up, which is a classic solitaire. So you'll be working with jump rings, so 2 rings. So it's a double gallery, which means there's a gap in between the stone and the base of the ring, which allows more light to come in, which means that it reflects more light and the stone sparkles even more, which is why it's a very popular classic setting. So there's lots of solder joins on this piece and it is quite fiddly, but it's a great finale to the year, especially when you think of where we started at, you know, kind of making that classic silver ring that we all start with all the way through to here. It's incredible kind of the progress you can make, and we'll be looking a bit at the ring band and how we can make it elegant as well, and setting a beautiful stone in there. Then the final few weeks you'll be working on your final project, but we'll talk to you about this much earlier on so that you've ordered your pieces and you know what you're doing and you're ready to go. So the final project is a piece that you make that incorporates some of the techniques from the year. And you will design the piece and you will make it, and you have 3 weeks to do it. So you've got plenty of time. So here are some previous final projects that people have done. And I'll walk you through some of them in a bit more detail in just a moment. But yeah, it's kind of really exploring what did you enjoy out of the course and what do you want to make? So bring in some of your design and some of your favorite skills, and you don't have to make pieces that you didn't like again. So it's a nice way to kind of hone in on what it is that you're focused on. So that is the curriculum. So there's a lot that we cover in the year. And yeah, like I said, it's just amazing from my perspective to see people go through that and see the growth and the journey that they make and the incredible pieces that they can make after, because all these skills are transferable. So whilst we'll guide you towards a design in most cases to help just move forwards, once you know how to do the technique, you can apply that to whatever style you like. How the marking works is that before each course, you will be given guidelines on what you're going to be marked, what you need to make, and what you'll be marked on. So sometimes we'll teach you more than what you'll be marked on. Like we might say, we're going to make a ring today, but if you finish it early and you want to make something else, you can, but the ring is what you're going to be marked on. And you'll be given marks, usually out of 5 or 10, for different areas. So for example, if I was marking this ring in the slides here, you would get a mark for soldering, you'd get a mark probably for the ring, you'd get a mark for the stone being set well, and you'd probably get a mark out of 5 for polishing and finishing. And then again, we will have kind of grades. So 5 out of 5 means it's a professional standard, it's ready to sell. Or 4 out of 5 means that it's very good, but there's a little bit of area for improvement. A 3 out of 5 means that you've done a good job, but we need to work on some things, and then it kind of goes down from there. But it's not about being perfect at everything. When you come and train with us, we know that you're learning. So it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to get things wrong. It's okay to totally mess up some weeks and it's just not your week. There is a 60%, you need to get 60% to pass. So there's quite a lot of wiggle room. So as long as you turn up to the courses and you try, you will get the diploma almost, almost every time. But yeah, we encourage you to just focus on your own journey. Try not to compare yourself to anyone else. I know it's so hard to do because we all have different backgrounds, different experience, different amounts of time to put towards the projects. But like I keep saying, the most important thing to us is that based on your goals, you're able to move forward and you feel good about what you've achieved, and you're on the journey and you're learning. But yes, your mentor will kind of guide you through the marking, and it's definitely not something to worry about. Sometimes people do get nervous before the marking day, but it's only there to encourage and support you, and yeah, kind of move you forward. So the diploma is for beginners and improvers. Hopefully from seeing all the projects, you've got a good idea where you're at on that scale. But if you are new to jewelry making, you're very welcome. But we also have lots of people join this course who have done quite a bit of jewelry making, and that's fine as well. Lots of jewelers want to learn just the more advanced sort of stone settings, the wax. But if you feel like most of the projects you haven't tried, then it's going to be a great course for you. And the question I always ask people who are thinking about signing up is just what their goals are. Where do you want to be a year from now? And if you feel like you'd like to learn how to make these pieces, you'd like to develop yourself as a jeweler, you might like to start or grow a jewelry business, you'd like to work in this field, or you'd just like to enjoy being creative and having a go and developing your skills, then this is going to be the perfect kind of program and environment to do that in. In terms of the fees for the course fee is £5,497 at the moment. And for this year, it may go up next year, but that includes all your materials. So over £1,000 worth of materials and your toolkit, all the tuition. So everything is pretty much included, other than I mentioned the final project pieces, which you can choose what you make. And we can't be responsible if you want to buy more tools as a result of doing jewelry making. I apologize in advance. It's a lifelong addiction, the tool buying and the gemstone buying and all of those things. But you don't need to buy anything else to take the program. In terms of payment plans, there's obviously the option to pay in full when you enroll, but the other option is you can pay in 12 monthly installments. They are of 4, 5, 9 each, but the first installment must start 4 months before the course starts. So the course starts in September. I don't know what's 4 months earlier than September, but I'm sure we can work it out between us. But that's the deadline for signing up. However, as I mentioned before, there's limited spaces. So if you know you want to do it, I would encourage you to join now, because once they're gone, there's nothing we can do to extend them, because it's a very fixed, it's a fixed studio. It's 8 benches. Also, we do kind of have a fast acting incentive. So if you're interested, Sam will share the link. You can go ahead and enroll. Or if you would like to speak to us one-to-one and you haven't already, then you're very welcome to book a chat with us. We're around every day, and very happy to talk through your personal sort of situation and circumstances and see if the course is right for you. But you don't have to do that. If you know you want to do it, you can just go ahead and sign up. And for anyone who hasn't joined yet, if you do join within a week of attending this session, then we will also include the Jewelry Business Starter Kit for free, which is the online program which we developed this year. It's worth £499, and it's a self-paced course which you can watch at any time. But it was really made for people starting the diploma, because we thought, okay, if you join now, you've got a few months before you start. What can you do in that time? And it's the perfect time to start learning about building a jewelry business, maybe get started with some of those things, so that when you're on the diploma and you're making jewelry, you've already got some stuff set up. So it was really kind of designed for people in the situation of, I'm starting in September, I've got a bit of time, what can I do with it? So there's 4 courses included in the starter kit. The first one is called 20 Days to Start Your Jewelry Business. And I basically guide you through one task to do each day for 20 days to get your business from 0 to up and running. Because I think one of the main issues with starting a business is the overwhelm and just feeling like, what do I do? You know, like, where do I start? There's so much to do. So we break it down and we say, right, today we're just going to think about the name. What name are we going to do? Tomorrow we're going to have a look at colors. The next day we're going to have a little look at packaging. And it's just a sort of intro into building that business. The second course is called Photographing Your Jewelry with a Smartphone. This is taught by Karen Young, who's a professional jewelry photographer. And she will just guide you through how you can get beautiful pictures with your smartphone, because taking pictures of your jewelry is so important if you want to build a business, for sharing on social media and pretty much everywhere else, your website, all the places. There's also a masterclass on pricing your jewelry for profit, which comes with a downloadable spreadsheet that helps you price your jewelry, because this is one of the key things that people struggle with when they're building a business, is how on earth do we price it? So I cover all of that in there, and it's in great detail. And then the final course is on marketing and how to market for your first year in a business. So it's about stripping it back and not doing everything, but saying, okay, how do we get started? If you've never done any of the marketing before, what are the first steps? So that is a brilliant kind of intro and gives you something to do. If you have signed up for the diploma and you're thinking, okay, I'm excited for September, but what can I do in the meantime? That is a perfect way to spend the time. Yeah, so Sam's put the links to the discovery calls. They are no pressure calls where you just chat with one of the team and we'll just learn about you and see whether or not it's going to work for you, and yeah, just help you make the decision, really. Finally, I wanted to show you some of the previous diploma students' work and just talk about them for a moment. So these are some final projects. So here you can see a beautiful ring with a lovely bezel setting in the middle. You can see the granulation on the side, little tube settings, and a beautiful ring band. So it's a great example of how someone's taken some of the techniques from the course and put them into a final piece. Here's another one, a beautiful kind of starfish coral ring with a lovely stone setting, some bits of gold, lots of silver as well, lots of texture and detail in there. This one is really beautiful as well. We've got the claw setting, some tube setting, some granulation. This is a really awesome bangle. So we're using kind of piercing, soaring techniques, again, some stone setting. And then this one is like a mermaid tail piece, which is made by one of the students with a lovely kind of like granulating texture around the side, then a bezel setting in the middle with some shaped bezel wire, and those mermaid tails going around the edge. So it's just really nice to see what different people do with the similar techniques. And then just to talk about a couple of our students, this is the wonderful Alice Catherine, and she has her own jewelry business now, Alice Catherine Jewellery. She joined the online version of the diploma in lockdown, and since then she has gone on to start her own jewelry business. She has a shop now. She's been hugely successful. She's based up in the Scottish Highlands, and she also has a team. So she's hired a few people to work with her to help with some of the making, but also some of the marketing and running the shop. And she does a lot of kind of engagement pieces, but also everyday pieces, stone setting. So you can see how she's used some of the skills from the course and made them her own to create her own kind of business. So we're hugely proud of Alice. She is one of the many success stories that we have had. Then there's the wonderful Emily Elizabeth. Emily went on to do the Fine Diploma and also the Advanced Diploma, which are options that will become available after the Silver. And you can see some of her beautiful work here. And she has her own workshop at the back of her house, and she kind of runs open houses there and sells her jewelry there. She sells to private clients, and also does some teaching workshops. So these are just some ideas of what some people have gone on to do. I mean, I could talk forever about our previous students, but we're super proud of them, love seeing what progress they make. The next steps after this course would be the diploma in fine jewelry. I mean, there's lots of things that you could do, but this is the natural kind of progression, which really builds on the techniques that we've covered here, but it's more intricate stone settings and more gold and more fine jewelry. So there is progression available afterwards as well. And I think one of the questions that people ask in different ways is this fear of like, what if I can't do it? Like, what if I can't do all those things? They look amazing. I'd love to do them. But, you know, especially if you're new to something, it can feel like, how would I ever get there? And what I always say to people is, well, that is our job. Our job is to help you get there. We are the teachers, we are the trainers. And we have seen thousands of people go through this program. So we are, you know, very good at helping and encouraging, I think I can say. But everybody is good enough. You don't have to be a certain level to join. We welcome everyone. And we, you know, again, just really focus on what's the next step. So instead of getting overwhelmed with all of the things, just thinking, okay, what are we doing today? And what are we learning? And you're always good enough, and you have got what it takes. And whatever you choose to do, whether you choose to do a diploma with us or perhaps come and do some other courses with us or take courses online or whatever your future holds, we are excited to be part of it. Jewellers Academy is very much a community as well as a training space. So, you know, before, during, after any course you take with us, we want you to feel included and be part of what we're doing. So we're very active on Facebook, on Instagram, and we just love chatting with you guys. So if you have any questions now or later on, feel free to get in touch. We are always available. And I think that's everything I had to share with you. So yeah, just thanks again so much for coming. Have a think. Yeah, if you do want to sign up, I'd encourage you to join in the next week to get the bonus, to join the starter kit. But like I said, if you need to talk with us further, we'd be very happy to do so. And we're excited to get in the studio come September and just get making together. And yeah, can't wait to see what you guys make. So thanks for joining me. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.